Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ray Tampa podcast. Our podcast offers bold commentary on various subject matters with a laser-like focus on the truth. My name is Ray Tampa, and I'm the host of the Ray Tampa podcast. We have in the studio two talented and intelligent gentlemen, Mr. Russell Cato and Mr. Jamie Wilson III, my co-host. Also, we're honored and pleased to have with us Dr. G. Greg Murray, pastor of Mount Zion Primitive Baptist Church, St. Petersburg. Pastor Murray is here to share information about a new organization of pastors known as the Baptist Ministers Conference of St. Petersburg, Florida, and vicinity. Pastor Murray, welcome to the Ray Tampa podcast.
Thanks, Brother Ray. Thank you. Good to be here.
Well, certainly we are pleased that you're here.
Good to have you.
During the summer of 2017, I wrote an article entitled, "The City of St. Petersburg has a huge deficit in terms of pastoral leadership." 2017. Prior to our conversation with Pastor Murray, I would like to read a few excerpts from the article. According to author Ray Gilder, who has written several books, quote, "There's a tremendous difference between preaching for a church and serving as their pastor," end of quote. This is a powerful statement that caused me to explore its meaning more in depth and relate it to my hometown, St. Petersburg. Mr. Gilder wrote an article titled, quote, "6 Basic Aspects of Pastors as Shepherds," end of quote. In the article, he outlined the aspects as follows. Number 1, feed the flock. Number 2, love the flock. Number 3, lead the flock. Number 4, keep the flock together. Number 5, tend the flock. And number 6, protect the flock. Though all of the above mentioned aspects are important to the responsibilities of pastors, I'm going to concentrate on one in particular, and that is protect the flock. Quote, "A pastor not only deals with the sheep, quote, flock, he must also deal with the wolves," end of quote. According to Mr. Gilder, he further stated that, quote, "A pastor must not only preach the truth, he must expose error," end of quote. It is a well-known fact that St. Petersburg has a clique that has been dubbed the poverty pimps. They have received untold amounts of monies in the name of addressing our community's ills without any discernible results. Also, St. Petersburg has been saddled with violence, murders, juvenile crime, especially car thefts, HIV infections, educational failures, lack of financial support for businesses, and a lack of attentiveness to the community's needs by the political elite. Instead of our pastors loudly and forcefully speaking out and demanding solutions, we have experienced the equivalence of pastoral mouths that are duct taped. ... End of quote. There's a lot more to my article, but we need to end it here and have Pastor Murray share with us information about his organization's leadership, mission, goals, and objectives. Pastor Murray, please share with our listeners where you were born and educated.
Thank you, Brother Ray. Appreciate being here today. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. Amen. In the Bedford-Stuyvesant section. We grew up in the Marcy projects, which is a notorious housing projects. Jay-Z is from there. So that's where I grew up. We have been blessed to go to higher educations. I received my bachelor's in social work degree from the Syracuse University. Amen. Syracuse Orange. Yeah. I received my master's of divinity from Colgate Crozier Divinity School, which was the same seminary where Martin Luther King Jr. received his master's of divinity. I received a doctorate from the St. Thomas Christian University, which is in Jacksonville, Florida. And recently I received an honorary doctorate from the Dominion Theological Seminary in Brooklyn, New York. So I was able to go back home and receive an honorary doctorate degree for my lifetime work.
Absolutely awesome. Thanks for that information, sir. Pastor Murray, how long has your organization, Baptist Ministers Conference of St. Petersburg and vicinity, been in operation?
We reorganized in February of this year. There had been a Baptist Minister Conference years ago. It fell apart, and so we were back to reorganizing it, and it started in February. So I'd say about 10 months now.
10 months. Okay, great. And we understand that you're the president. Who are some of your other leaders?
Yes, they did elect me to be the president. My vice president is Pastor Lannis Thomas. He pastors here in St. Petersburg, the new Pleasant Grove Missionary Baptist Church. Our chaplain is Pastor Robert McDonald. He pastors in St. Petersburg. Our secretary is Minister Ronald Wells. He's one of my associates at Mount Zion. Our assistant secretary is Minister Terry Jones. Our dean of Christian education is Pastor Bobby Reed. He pastors the New Covenant Missionary Baptist Church here in St. Petersburg. Our treasurer is Reverend Michael Hawkins. He pastors the Mount Calvary Missionary Baptist Church here in St. Petersburg. And our assistant treasurer is Minister John Williams. He's a minister over at Wings Fellowship in St. Petersburg.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. Great lineup of leaders there.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to some really powerful things happening with that organization.
Amen. That is
very powerful.
That is our plan. That is our objective.
Well, speaking of objectives, why don't you share with us first, talk to us about your mission.
Mission statement, I'll just read it as it is so that we will be clear about it. Our mission is to encourage, equip, and educate and empower ministers for the 21st century fellowship and ministry, this present age.
Okay, that's a very strong mission. You got quite a bit to do there in that mission.
Yes.
All right. We wish you well with that mission. All right. Talk to us, if you don't mind, about your goals and objectives.
Man, thank you, Brother Ray. It is the goal of the fellowship, the conference, to develop biblically sound and spiritually grounded ministers of the gospel of Jesus Christ, where preachers and pastors come together to enhance one another and to minister to the unique needs of God's chosen vessels, the pastor and the ministers in the Black church.
Okay. Now, what you just told us represent goals.
Yes.
Okay. What about your objectives?
Objectives, of course, they tie into our goals.
Right.
It's the steps that we hope to accomplish this. Our objectives is for brothers to come together, strengthen one another. We use as a scripture to be rooted and grounded in Psalms 133, verse 1, which says how perfect and beautiful it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. So we want to be together. We want to be on one accord. We want to be unified. We don't want to be divided. And so in order to do that, we respect the gifts, the gifts that each pastor brings, each minister brings, and we hope to enhance those gifts and bring it to the collective for the purpose of solving and doing our objectives.
Okay. Well, again, we wish you well as you seek to accomplish what you're setting out to do. Very important. Very important. So I'm going to ask this question. When you and the others started planning the reorganization of this group, did you feel a need to do that? Did you feel a necessity?
Most definitely. I've been in St. Petersburg for 10 years.
Okay.
I came as a retired military person. I'd been in ministry for 35 years. I'd pastored 27 of those years. So I had experience. And I've quickly found out that St. Petersburg has a need for integrity and ethics amongst the ministers.
Hold on. Fellas, write that down. Because we want to revisit that. We want to revisit that.
We talked about that.
All right, go ahead, sir. Sorry.
The history is well known. I grew up in the National Baptist Convention where Dr. Henry Lyons was our president. And it was clear what had happened with his fall from grace and how it affected the ministry in St. Petersburg. The people began to look at pastors and ministers differently. And so we wanted to bring back a respect of the ministry by being accountable for our integrity and our ethics. And so we're kind of rooted and grounded in that. And you know, if you come to be a part of the conference, there's accountability. There's expectations.
Excellent.
To be what we call true men of God, true men of God.
Excellent. Well, you said quite a bit there, so let's continue. What is your outreach to other churches and pastors?
We try to, when a pastor's having his anniversary, we try to support him, try to let him know he is not alone. There are things that he can bring to the conference. We meet each Tuesday at various churches to discuss different things, and we hope that the brothers can find a safe place where they can be themselves. If there are some issues that they're going through, they can bring it to the conference and feel that it's a safe place. So we really reach out to each church, and by doing that to each church, we want to strengthen the leader, the pastor, the man who God hopefully has chosen to lead that congregation. And we want to strengthen him and put him on the right path and make sure that he is understanding what it is to do ministry in the 21st century and the unique needs of that.
Okay, I'm impressed with what I've heard so far, and I understand what you all are trying to do through a collaborative effort, strengthen each other.
Yes.
And by strengthening each other, strengthening the individual churches,
yes,
obviously you're strengthening our community.
Yes, I didn't mention that, but if you strengthen the church, you strengthen the community. Remember the saying, it's an African proverb, I believe, it takes a whole village to raise a child. We believe that it takes a whole churches to raise a village.
Okay. And I'm going to give you two an opportunity after I ask this question here. Here's my next question. One of your focus areas in terms of your objectives is community action.
Yes.
I was pleased to note that, to see a group of pastors talking about community action. when we've had so many doing what you might call nothing in that regard. So I really appreciate that. So let's dwell on that community action. If you remember when I read the opening statement about all the issues that were prevalent in our community, when I wrote the article in 2017, and those were real issues: murders, violence, car thefts, HIV infection, educational failures. Those were real issues. And that's why I said we had a deficit of pastoral leadership trying to find solutions to those issues. So let's dwell a little bit on community action. What do you think can be accomplished by your organization in this regard?
Well, will definitely be a positive representation of the Black community. There are a lot of people in the Black community that go to churches on Sunday. We have a large segment of the Black community right there before us every Sunday, and they have a range of things that they are faced with. First of all, we need to be aware of that. And I call it taking our heads out of the sand and being aware of the communities and the community issues in which our churches are situated.
Yes.
You got to know what's going on around you. And so you got to stay aware, you got to stay connected, you got to have a seat at the table. And if you don't have a seat at the table, you're always going to be reactive in your community involvement, not proactive. And it seems like the pastors are always trying to catch up. Really, right now, other than what we're trying to accomplish, there really are no significant voices at the tables of the things that are affecting the Black community in St. Petersburg. And so we want to be able to have that voice. For example, the thing with the raise. We want to get, we invited some people to come in, such as yourself, and we invited some other people to speak about those things so that we can become aware. And if you can recall, Ray, the pastors were so surprised at some of the things you pointed out that are actually going on in the community that they weren't even aware of. And they were surprised that when you brought those issues out, they had never even heard of those concerns.
And that's a very appreciative statement. I really appreciate what you just said, because I was serious in terms of what I was saying to the group when I did that presentation. And I asked Mindy Ligon, attorney Mindy Ligon, to accompany me to their meeting.
I don't think it was Mindy. I think it was her sister-in-law.
Okay, sorry.
Another name.
Thanks for the correction.
Yes,
it was
Michelle Ligon.
Michelle Ligon accompanied me
Awesome.
at that presentation, because Michelle knows the nuts and bolts of that Tropicana field concern. But as far as me speaking to the group, I appreciate the offer to do that. I really felt good about doing it. Either of you?
Yes, in situations we're talking about community and speaking for the people, do you guys already have individuals, you don't have to say their names, but individuals in place in case there is an issue in the community that you can go to, maybe along the political lines, to get the word out? Say a shooting, say anything to where you're speaking out. Do you have individuals already that you can go to?
In the community?
In the community.
Oh, most certainly, but not all the pastors. I think one of the reasons why I was chosen to lead the conference and the reorganization effort is because I have a relationship with a lot of the powers that be in the community.
Good.
I worked with the mayor. I had worked with NAACP. I ran for NAACP president. We've done things when Brother Watson Haynes was the president of the Urban League. So I have a connection with a lot of groups, and I'm trying to get the other pastors involved.
Right.
That's the way I grew up, that the pastors had to be involved.
Right.
And so I'm trying to bring that back to St. Petersburg.
Relationships are important. As far as like small businesses in the area, what are you guys doing to empower them and to get the community to support small Black businesses?
Well, we invite them to come in, and if they have something that's going on, or if it's a new business, we'll try to advertise that amongst our congregation. say for example, my church, we had some tree issues in our property. And so we wanted to contact local businesses, local Black owned businesses to do the work that we needed. All of our contractors, we make sure that they are entrepreneurs and that primarily the African-American businesses. We go after that. My church goes after that. And I'm trying to teach the brothers the power of that. It's going to take some time, but we're on the right path. Because once the brothers start to see these things and wow, and realize that these opportunities are just there, and it all really depends on our unity, how we stick together. Because there's always powers that be. Ray spoke about it a little bit. There's always powers that be that will seek to divide us. And we know even with this new organization, there's already been, even from our own community, and it's sad to say, those who would try to throw a monkey wrench in it, that don't want to see us organized, that don't want to see us set a fire under the people and let them realize the powers that they have, whether it's in the voting booth or just being unified. And so that's one of our objectives.
Excellent. Russ?
One of the things that you did say that was very interesting to me is you need true leadership, true men. And in your discussion, you brought up the word unification. And I want to say this. And I go back and look at this. And there was a movie called Cool Hand Luke. I don't know if you remember this movie. Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the biggest things that happened in Cool Hand Luke was a failure to communicate.
Yes.
So my concern with you, knowing that this country is is a divisiveness in political field, what about religious democracy? Is that where you're coming from?
Can you talk about religious democracy a little bit more? Like, what do you?
In other words, when you talk about religious democracy, you're having people to come in and discuss, like you said, bringing people in. Let's discuss things open.
Yes.
Now, when I listen at you talk about that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's about 75 Black churches in St. Petersburg, Methodist and Baptist, you know what I'm saying? I'm listening to you saying that this is a new organization. Is that right?
Yes.
Are you the one establishing this new organization, or the other, for instance, the political elite churches? Where are they, the Black churches? Is there some called political elite Black churches in St. Pete?
There are churches that are considered to be elite, and I think a lot of that is based on membership size.
Okay.
And a lot of people feel membership size should coincide with the rights and the authority and the privilege that you have in the Black community. Like you because your church is a certain size, then you have the voice of the people, because you have more people in your community, in your congregations, and pastors that may be from a smaller size church might not have the same political clout.
Right.
Because they don't have a lot of the same financial clout.
Right.
So within this organization that you're forming, are you drawing in some of these political elite churches into your organization?
Brother Cato,
I'm just asking.
sadly, we were still working on, I've met personally.
Right.
They seem to respect me.
Good.
For whatever reason. But I've met personally with some of the so-called elites. Y'all have had one of the elite brothers here that I met with just recently. They seem to be kind of watching us to see where this organization is going to go, whether or not we're serious about what we're trying to do, because we're talking about bringing about change.
Change.
Yes.
And when you wake the people up, sometimes it affects the pocketbook of others.
Yeah.
But we hope to bring everybody together on board the ship. And I have definitely reached out to the larger membership churches.
Okay.
They've responded. It hasn't been anything that has turned into coming on and being a part of it, but I'm still hopeful.
I think the thing that I really enjoy what you're saying, and I heard Ray say this, pastoral leadership. That's my thing, because we need it, man. We really need it. I thank you for it.
Well, Russ, I feel very strongly about Pastor Murray's leadership.
Yeah.
And I've said this to him. At one point, he said, well, we may need to look at hiring a public relations person, someone to speak on their behalf. And I told him, you don't need to do that because that's you.
Right.
He has excellent communication skills.
He does.
He knows social media extremely well. So why bring somebody else to say what you can say and say it so well? I applaud you for that. I told the group when I spoke to them, if they stay together, strength in numbers. Because if they were to take, say, 15, 20 pastors to a city council meeting, sit in the chambers, that's a powerful statement. That same 20 pastors go to a school board meeting. That's a powerful statement. County commission meeting, same thing. Or just stand behind Pastor Murray as he speaks at a particular press conference. Powerful statements. And I believe the pastors in his group are ready to do just that. Because when Bay News 9 calls, for the most part, the pastors in his group are not the ones being called by Bay News 9. They're not the ones being called by the Tampa Bay Times. But as a collective group, they can force the issue and make sure that they're not overlooked in the future, that their voices are going to be heard by all concerned. I have faith that Pastor Murray is going to get it done. Anything else?
Basically being present, being there on certain issues, you'll get that. You don't have to be the large church. Do you find that a lot of the so-called elites, as you say, and I have one church in mind I won't say, but do you find that they're receptive to your ideas and your leadership, like when you make suggestions?
Brother Jamie, not really.
No,
Yeah.
But I hope to change that.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
Someone once said, you build it, they'll come.
True.
So that's what I've told the brothers, that and we're strong. We're around 25 pastors and ministers strong now. The brothers are beginning to receive that. They saw something in my leadership that they elected me to be the first president. I was asked to take the lead. And so, you know, I have some ideology in terms of how to get our community moving, especially in the issues that we face today. I did form 4 different wings of the conference. Let me give you some of the wings. We have a social action wing. We have a brother that's in charge of that, and he's responsible for looking out for things in the community that we can get involved in. We have a political action wing. We have a brother that is looking at the politicalness and the political climate of the Black community or St. Petersburg as a whole. And also we have a youth wing. Somebody can bring our youth on board in terms of what their needs are. We also have a community action wing. And so with those things, we hope to keep an eye on things and be a presence. At our last meeting, we had one of the principals from Mount Vernon. She's the principal from Mount Vernon. She came in and she told us the needs that she's facing. Man, it was rough. It was rough to even hear that. And so what came out of that is brothers signed up to go into the schools as what they call lunch pals, partner with some of the young Black males who are having problems. This is elementary school, who are having problems in the elementary school, behavioral problems, because that school has a lot of the kids that are living in those hotels off 34th. And so they got a lot of issues. So what would they love to see but a strong Black man, a leader who's clean, who has integrity, to go out and just almost like a big brother,
Right.
partnering with some of those young boys, and we're gonna go in there once a week and about 15 minutes to sign up to become lunch pals. So it's that kind of newness and radicalness that we tend to be a part of, and we want our voices to be heard.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you, Pastor Murray. We at the Ray Tampa Podcast applaud you, Pastor Murray, and your fellow pastors in trying to strengthen your ministries in a collaborative manner, as stated earlier. Obviously, by doing so, as stated earlier, you're going to get it all done. Pastor, we thank you for your appearance as a guest. It has truly been our pleasure. I want to thank my co-hosts, as always, doing a great job with their pointed questions.
Thank you, brother.
And I want to thank our listening audience for tuning in to the Ray Tampa Podcast. And we ask that you do so each and every Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. on 99.1 FM, The Bird. You can also go to YouTube and type in the Ray Tampa Podcast, and you can listen and see them all. We also ask that you like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. Finally, sponsorships are welcome. Good evening.
God bless you all. Good evening. Thank you.